What does Satish ji get on the table for BKT?
BKT is an Indian multinational organization, company where I spent 27 years. So all the stakeholders are generally quite happy with this organization. Everything in the CV has changed.
Absolutely.
What has not changed is the tires. I think it's time for the tires to demonstrate change. But right now it's an incremental step, and that's what we find interesting. That's what we are looking to.
Good morning, friends, and welcome to the 250th episode of your channel, Trans India, Real People, Real Emotions. In these last 5 years, our endeavor has been to capture real people from the industry, expressing their real emotions on what they feel about the industry and their profession. I am proud to say that we have done pretty good so far. A huge thank you to all our viewers, sponsors and advertisers for their support to Trans India News Network. In these years, we have run some very successful series. You had Nayi Soch Naye Raaste with Aisher, the Legend series with Ashok Leland, the YIT series with Tara Motors, and a series on IMAX with Mahindra Truck and Bus. The aim was to showcase live examples that would relate to your business and operations and help you improve efficiency. We are also proud to have featured women transporters from across India as well as the youth. I strongly believe that both these would bring many more changes in the industry. Talking of change, our guest today is an industry veteran. Not only has he changed the company that he represents, but is also looking to change the dynamics of the segment. He is a veteran in the tyre industry with over 3 decades of experience, having served in Apollo Tyres for the most part of his career. However, he has now moved to BKT Tyres in the role of Senior President and Director, Business Development and Strategy at Balkrishna Industries Limited. He has also served as the President of Automotive Tyre Manufacturers Association for 2 terms. We are delighted to have in our landmark 250th episode an industry legend, Mr Satish Sharma. We talked to Satish ji about the beginning of a new chapter in his career, tyre technology, BKT's foray into hardcore commercial vehicle tyres, and what changes Satish ji envisages for the tyre industry. So let's dive into our conversation with Mr Satish Sharma in the 250th episode of Trans India, Real People, Real Emotions.
Satish ji, to start with, welcome to the 250th episode of Trans India.
It's a special one.
A special one, and we're glad to have you. So you've been a legend in this business, in the tyre industry, and BKT has been around for quite some time now. How did you and BKT get together?
I have an old school thought that I would say I'll put it on destiny. There was no grand plan. I happened to leave Apollo Tyres, my company where I spent 27 years. And I had really no plans. I had very different plans than joining another tire company or joining any organization as such. And then certain conversations happened after a certain point in time, and those casual conversations led from one thing to the other. And it, over a certain period of time, it grew in its meaning and purpose. And we felt that we could build something of greater substance or greater value or greater impact. And that was a pivot for me when it started exciting me, and I started feeling that it's an opportunity which can sort of exploit my experience and knowledge, and for the greater good of not just BKT but for the entire country and the industry and the customers, all stakeholders. And that's when we sort of start formally put things together, and one thing led to the other, MBRF.
So before we joined, BKT was not in the truck space as such. But we get to that question. But before that, can you give us a brief background about BKT as well? Because many transporters are still not aware where BKT actually is in the CV space.
So BKT is, I mean, I'll come to CV, like I said, a little later, but BKT is an Indian multinational organization. It has earned its spurs mostly outside of India. It's very big in Europe and US and other geographies like Oceania, Australia, they're very big. Uh, and they are in the off-highway tire space. So it has got a range of 3,600 odd SKUs. So anything which is off-highway, uh, India has to be really proud of this company, which is a world leader in many of these geographies that I've mentioned, and in most segments of off-highway. And from a business standpoint also, and from an industry standpoint also, it's an outlier organization in the sense that it returns back very good margins for the business that it does.
Okay.
The customers speak very highly about its quality uh, and policies. Uh, so all the stakeholders are generally quite happy with this organization, and it's created immense value for the stakeholders over decades. So it's also done interesting work on the brand outside of India. And like I said, it's one Indian company which has truly made its meaning outside of India. Right. And then when it came back into India, to when India's growth story really became serious, then from 2015 onwards, VKT has been in India, focusing on India. And then this last decade or so, uh, they have had a very strong growth and almost market leadership status in off highway categories in India. So again, the business model which was tested around the global markets got tested in India as well, and it stood the test of time as well, and it is done good work. So now, in the off-highway space, there is a very small overlap between truck tires and and let's say mining tires.
Right.
As you know, a lot of Indian CV space is in the tipper segment.
True.
Which is taking the produce of the mine to the nearest point of disaggregation for aggregation, and that's how it goes. And that space is serviced by the off highway. You can even call it truck. Cozy truck is the for the off highway. They have done good work in that space, and that's where some customers of commercial vehicle would know BKT. But most of them who are on
The typical your truck
cargo and trailers and all, they would perhaps know it less. But again, given the work on the brand which has happened, today I would like to probably say that it's people are aware that we are coming in the on highway space. We've created that anticipation in the minds of the end users. Especially CV, I would say the fleets pretty much know that BKT is around the corner, and they're waiting for the product. And there is excitement about the BKT product simply because the brand is has known to be a producer of high quality products in India and around the world.
See, off highway tires and even construction equipment tires have to go through very demanding, pressures in terms of overload, road conditions, tough working conditions. Will BKT's experience there help in getting the actual highway tires in place? Will that shift be there?
So of course, no knowledge is ever a waste, and there is a lot of embedded knowledge in. Let's say, for example, we make all steel radial earth mover tires uh, up till 57 inch and 63 inches around the corner. Okay, is getting tested. So now that's radial technology at its really pinnacle, right? For making those kind of. Now whether that what what we have learned in making all steel radial tires for our was will it be used in CV radials? Yes, a whole lot of it will get used. But having said that, it's also a specialist business in its own way. And we build the core capabilities of the specialist business with whatever is needed in CV radius, and then see what is it that we can learn from the off highway pedigree that we have. And for example, the off highway people know how to make compounds which are good on managing cuts, chips, right, and chunking of the tread rubber. That is not easily available on highway, but they need that kind of technology. To so there are these nuances which get, uh, and then of course the two technology groups talk to each other. There's osmosis of learning knowledge, and then they all learn from each other. So I would say yes to your question. Answer to your question is there is some transmigration, but there's also specialized knowledge.
What does Satish ji get on the table for BKT? Because I think your experience is as old as BKT as a company, if I'm not wrong.
I make me sound very old, right? Yeah, I feel very young. What do I get is the experience, of course, the experiential knowledge of what I also get is I've had many successes, but I've also had many failures. So I learn equally from both of them, from my successes, but more importantly, also from my failures. Uh, I have relationships, which are enduring relationships built over the multiple decades that I've been in the industry. Also, the ability to join the dots in a different way. Because the case study, which is BKT, is very different to the case studies that I handled in the past. But with those experiences, they all come to roost, and it is like a season, like they say in cricket, you are peaking at the right time. So it's probably you can draw an analogy from that bit and say this is that time in my life where I bring the distillation of my experience and wisdom uh, and bring it all onto the table to create impact for my team, or create future leaders, make relevant evolutionary changes to the organization, so that the organization makes more impact, and does things even more meaningfully than what has been done in the past, and help the organization to go to the next phase of its growth journey. And of course, to the end users, I strongly believe that we will come out with a product uh, which will be acknowledged highly. Uh, and to the naysayers, I will say, people who say that things cannot be done differently, and I would say that
Things can be done differently.
things can be done differently. Look at
They actually need to be done differently
they need to
in
be done
the
different.
current
So,
scenario.
yeah, so there are things. So yeah, it's how you slice and dice things. How do you join the dots again? Like how do you sort of create a greater sum of parts? I would say so. All those things.
Satish, what is the current range of tires that BKT is planning to get specifically for the trucking segment?
Yeah, for the trucking segment, so there's an important question of where to play and how to win. So uh, we are looking at not the entire universe of the market. We have sub-segmented. Looking at the trends happening in the industry. Uh, so we are looking at, for example, the popular size in our industry is 295, 90, 20. The 20-inch has never changed in India. It's still a tube type, this thing. But I believe that given the whatever the conditions are and there is a growth in the 1100 or 20, which should be the rightful size for our country at the current moment. Okay, but it is not pursued strongly by either the OEMs or in the aftermarket. And there's generally a herd mentality of
Right.
of not changing the status quo.
Being in the comfort zone, actually.
I would not say comfort zone, but maybe comfort zone as well. But yeah, I mean, but the right product given everything, I would imagine today for Indian trucking is 1120. So the larger, it needs to upsize a little bit because of the prevailing conditions. So we are pursuing that segment where there is really no leadership of any brand.
Okay.
And it's a growing segment. So that's one growth. And that's one growth trend on which we are trying to think about. The people movement is hugely big in the country. There are a lot of buses, luxury coaches, uh, advertising to take people in a comfortable way from city A to city B, intercity, intracity, all of that. So people movement is a big trend. And again, I think it's an ignored trend. There is, for example, the in the luxury coach segment, the global players are looked upon better than the Indian companies. So Michelin is the number one brand, but it's as you would know is very expensive, so it's not very affordable. So we believe that that needs to change. If Indians could crack every other segment, why couldn't they crack the coach segment? So we've taken that as another segment where we need to come in and we need to change things. So that would be interesting. And then within the cargo world, there is increasing awareness on fuel efficiency in the south, especially, and some parts of north as well. And the tubeless is it's beginning to happen. So the 295,
Yes.
22.5 is beginning to happen. That also is a space which is not owned by any brand. So everybody is experimenting.
Right.
And we feel that so so these are the focus segments. So we are not trying to do everything to everyone. We're trying to narrow our focus to few segments, but to do it very well.
Chiefy.
And that's what we are trying to do. Another point is that there is the lack of retreading in the country. Everybody talks about sustainability, and tire companies speak a lot about sustainability. You can always see something in the print. But nobody speaks about retreading, which should be the first port of call. I mean, we give another life to the customer. And retreading is only been going down. So that's an area where we are not looking at uh, load so much. We are looking at more the disciplined fleets, and with the disciplined fleets, we are looking to again sell the virtues of a second life for the tire, which I believe is an industry responsibility. But we, since nobody is talking about it, we happily don that mantle and again challenge the norm. So broadly, our strategy is to look at these white spaces which do exist, and go after.
In all these years, you would have seen a shift that, transporters and even coach owners, they've gone from mere tire life to what add-ons can they get, especially your fuel efficiency getting out of the tires. How is BKT positioned here?
BKT is still in the work in process. Our first release has been the 1120, which is what we are going after. Right. With the tubeless tire, we will go after the fuel. Okay. Of course, there is a fuel efficiency even in 1120, but it is not the core need. The core need and demonstration of fuel mileage, as they call it in the fleet language, that is demonstrated more in the 295, 22.5. with a serious trucking business.
Right.
So that is a product where we will demonstrate our technology with respect to the efficiency in fuel.
Okay. And do you also think that retreading would also help in reducing the overall cost for a
Also, the total cost of ownership as a concept is very important, and it is a game changer. I mean, retreading is a game changer.
Absolutely.
And the day the fleets realize that why are they just wasting the casing and they are not taking another life? And they, on one hand, they cry that a tire is expensive, it's my second most recurring expenditure, and so on and so forth. And yet, everybody is blind to the right usage and just extracting one life and not the second life. So it is a sort of not in harmony, this whole thought process. So I think it's a matter of awareness. It's a matter of showing the TCO concept to. Uh, I would just say, I mean, to your point, what you were saying in comfort zone. So the whole ecosystem is sort of not questioning the holy cows or whatever as norms have got settled in, they've got settled in. So the disruption is in challenging the status quo and challenging the thought process of the end user and saying there's a better way forward and to do it with conviction and to put our might behind it, not just
speak about it and
not just
do nothing about it.
yes.
Yes.
So we have therefore very much narrowed our focus to these points. And this does not take us also head on with the established players. It gives us our, so we creep in into these segments and then try to show thought leadership, product leadership, and then grow from there.
I think truck manufacturers have put the TCO model very well with trucks getting expensive. They're just not talking about the price of the truck. They're talking about a TCO model. But I think with tires also getting expensive and being a significant part of the operating cost, a TCO model should really work well.
See, there my grouse with the OEMs is there, which is that for the sake of logistics, simplicity or lack of complexity or whatever, OEMs prefer one tire fits all. That's the way it's always been. Um, and until that thinking changes within OEMs, the industry can also not help them because industry has products which are well tailored to different segments. And we needs to understand that point. And but it's a logistics hassle for the OEM because they have so many parts to assemble and aggregate, and a tire becomes instead of one SKU, 5 SKU from one brand, then multiply that by 4 brands. So it's a complex algorithm to solve.
But I think transporters also were not very open to that change. So they're very specific. Okay, that I'm happy with this. I want to stick to this.
Yeah, because it comes from experiential knowledge, and they all talk about their experiences. I, I'm not saying their experiences are wrong or right. I'm sure it's bound. It's emanating from what they have witnessed and seen. Idea is to work along with them and show a better way forward. Nobody is saying belittling the experience because it CV is experiential.
Absolutely.
Because everybody wants to lower cost,
Correct.
right? So they have certain experiences, but does not mean that is the end of the theory. So we have to work with them and say, okay, this is what we are trying to do. This is the hypothesis. This is what we believe is going to create greater value for you. And why don't you try it? And it's just that people are not speaking this language and vocabulary. So when you speak this language, they are open to listen to you. And when they do that, hopefully they'll find more sense and reason. And then the tipping point will happen and the pivot will happen and the shift will happen.
We've seen a lot of changes in the last few years. So I think this changes bound to
Exactly
come.
my point. See, Girish, what is happening is, and that's exactly the story that we want to tell to our end users. Everything in the CV has changed.
Absolutely.
What is not changed is the tires. Is
Yes,
it
absolutely. Yes.
You've still, I mean, I've still got a
Your engines, cabins, drive, everything is changed.
The only time it changed from by a regulation when the lift axle came, and they just badge the 1020 as 29520, which is just a cosmetic change. Right? Nothing really was changed.
Okay.
So I think it's time for the tires to demonstrate change.
So are you just looking to sell tires, or are you looking to revolutionize the entire tire segment?
No, I mean, revolutionize is a very strong word, and I don't think that.
Somewhere there, I mean, on that path.
Yeah, revolution is like going from bias to radial. That was a revolution that happened in the industry. Yeah. Now, now is I would say what we are attempting to do is better trucking.
Upgrade.
Yeah, we talk about safety of drivers, but we have overloading so much, and we are still talking about how to load more and how to load more. Yeah. Of course, we've added so many axles and everything to support that, but I'll have to marry into that story of better trucking. The infrastructure has improved, the vehicle technology has improved. Euro 6 talking about Euro 7, Bharat Stage 6 talking about Bharat Stage 7. And therefore, how do we now use the new ecosystem to to speak about a different value equation to the end user? That's what we are trying to do. If this leads into a revolution, I'd be too happy.
Too happy.
But right now, it's an incremental step. It's
And small steps will lead to something bigger. So, what are the markets that you plan to tap? Are you looking at fleet owners, or you're also looking at the small truckers? Since 60% of volumes are with them, any focus plans for that?
So we are looking at the right end user. It's not defined by size. So for us, what is important is, are you trucking the right way? And if you're trucking the right way, whether you own 5 trucks or 500 trucks, does not matter.
Right.
Then we are your partners, or we would like to partner you in any.
Now, how do you plan to reach out to them, especially the smaller ones? I mean,
So this whole 1.5 years while we were making the products in the factory and all, I had already put a team in place to identify these guys, these customers. So we have a list of we have them all mapped.
right.
We know whom to go after, and those are the end users we are going to take our value proposition.
Any focus segments like FMCG or car carriers or cement, anything of that?
So
sort?
there is that list, but it's a long list.
Okay.
It's a long list.
Okay.
It's a long list.
So you're trying to map all of them, whichever fits best.
Yeah, whichever is doing trucking the right way.
Right.
So which takes away the excessive overloading, which takes away the all the fringes, which gives a bad name to the tire product and the other products maybe. And we are just defining our universe in a more homogeneous way, in a way which advances technology. And that's what we find interesting, and that's what we are looking to marry.
So, see, in terms of pure economics, what is it for a transporter to shift from his brand, which he's been using for decades now, to a new brand and a new set of tires? What are the USPs here?
I don't think it's a very difficult shift. It is, they're all looking for a greater experience, and they do give you a chance. Every good customer is willing to give you a chance. If you say, I have a better proposition, I think this is going to add value to your. They do give you a chance, and they'll try it out. And if you walk the talk and whatever you sort of promised, if that is evidenced, then they will open the door a little bit more. And then comes the other factors of relationship and commercial terms and how do you truly become partners and so on and so forth. So when you do that, then you make a sizable share of their business. So it's a journey, but it's a meaningful journey, and it's a cathartic journey. It's a very it's a journey where the dividends are very clear and the energy levels are also very good. If you do the right thing, you get the right outcomes.
So, currently, you'll be selling just tires or solutions that many other are giving now.
Tire is a solution.
But add on, like they have your tire maintenance, the CPK model, all those things.
Yeah, the CPK model is been tried by a lot of people. Also, the the fact that there is a lot of technology solutions now also makes it a little bit more possible. But I feel that uh, none of the models today so far have made a dent. They are still trials. And also, there's one thing that the industry suffers from is a trust deficit between the fleet on one hand, the tire guy on the other hand. And unless they again collaborate and see CPKM as a virtue, and both of them are sitting on the same side of the table, only it will work. Presently, the mentality or the thinking is that the tire industry says that, you know, my if you use my product, your cost per kilometer is going to go down, and the fleet owner is somehow trying to prove that with your product it didn't work out. So that
Agita says it is there.
so that he can make a better net. So each one is trying to outdo the other, very, which is not, by definition, is not collaborative. Although they started off with the objective of saying, "Okay, I want to
Ease out
outsource
the
my tire. I want to concentrate on my core business, and tires can be taken care of by." But that's not really held panned out like that. So it's a product in still nascent stages. We are not saying that we will never do it, but at this point in time, I feel that uh, we need to establish other things. And once that is done, that foundation is built, and then maybe we can see what is the context at that time. And if we can find a better solution with the context, that we'll at that state look at.
So, what are your current volumes and when do you plan to scale it up? This particular segment.
So this particular quarter is what we are calling as the quarter of soft launch, seed marketing,
Right.
experience our product to select fleets and all so on and so forth. So that's what is currently going out. And then we hope that the word of mouth sort of, the distribution is also getting established. Uh, every day it just goes to another level. And then from the second quarter, from July onwards, we start getting into serious in the start of sales. Let's put it like that. So this year will be year where we from 0 to wherever we get.
Right.
So I'm hoping we'll go from 0 to 10 and from 10 to 100. That's the kind of growth. Maybe in 2 years' time, we'll be a meaningful player, is my guess.
And what about the service network? Is that in place or how is that growing?
And the service network will also has to be. So here our thinking is a little different. Is our thinking is again to create an ecosystem and to provide the end user with the ecosystem, because when we talk retrading,
Right.
and all those other aspects of business which the industry is not speaking about, then it is the ecosystem. And there are many ideas in the pipeline, some at various levels of maturity.
Okay.
So, so that in seriousness will only evolve maybe a year from now, and that's when the products will need more servicing.
Absolutely.
So it's work in progress.
Finally, sir, how do you see BKT in India 5 years from now?
The seed is a very strong player. It would have taken, it would have created its space. People who say that, you know, India is established and there are four strong players and who will allow you to get inside. And I don't believe in that at all. I think a VKT will enter and elbow its room out. We will get the share that we want. I don't say it in an arrogant way. It's only through the work that we hope to do and get the customer acknowledgement and everything. So in 5 years from now, we would have met our vision, 23,000 crores, 2030. We would have achieved that. Our brand would have been. So I see it as a established player. We would have also started our journey into the US market with TBR, PUCV radials. That's a second market that we want to focus on. So that journey would have got started. And the other categories that we would have made meaningful foray. And I would think that BKT will be as widely and as known, and in a good way. In a good way, I would feel customers would be thinking that it's a good brand and it adds meaning to their lives in through its product and services. And the employees are also feeling very part of an institution, part of an organization which started modestly, created a lot of value, and which is growing, and they see their career aspirations getting met and actualization happening, and they love to come and do work, good work. So that's very important for me, for having our employees feel very strong about the organization. That's an objective we want to achieve. I hope that we achieve that objective. Not saying that it's not the case today, but in a much
better in the future.
much more meaningful way, where they see companies growing and they want to be associated with this growth engine. Yeah, and all the other stakeholders being also being satisfied and happy about what we have created.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Thank you, Girish. It was always a pleasure talking to you.
It is very clear that Satish ji is not just looking to sell tyres, he is looking to change the playground or the ground rules of the segment. He is keen to offer tyres as a total cost of operation concept and not a standalone product. We'll keep an eye on the developments at BKT and bring to you latest updates. Once again, a huge thank you to our viewers and sponsors for their continued support to the channel. We will continue to track real people and bring out their real emotions. We will be back again next week with another interesting conversation. Until next week, stay safe and drive safe. Jai Hind.